The morning sun was casting a golden hue over the quaint outdoor venue. Birds sang their joyful tunes as if celebrating our special day with us. I remember feeling the delicate lace of my dress against my skin, the excitement of the day making me feel like I was floating on air. Alex stood at the makeshift altar, his back turned, speaking to his best man. I couldn't see his face, but I could imagine his nervous smile and those little glances he would throw towards the aisle, waiting for me. My bridesmaids, all in their pastel dresses, were buzzing around me, ensuring every detail was in place. "You look radiant," Chloe, my best friend, Laura, whispered to me as she adjusted my veil. "Thank you," I replied, my voice shaking slightly from the emotions. "I just hope everything goes smoothly." It was then that I first laid eyes on Martha, Alex's mother. She was in a bold, almost ostentatious scarlet dress that seemed more suited for a gala than a humble wedding. With a sharp nose and piercing eyes, she was scanning the area, her face etched with a mixture of pride and scrutiny. As I walked down the aisle, arm in arm with my father, I could feel her gaze on me. It was a heavy, almost tangible sensation. I tried to focus on Alex, who looked up and beamed the moment our eyes met. But the weight of Martha's stare was undeniable. The ceremony itself was simple and heartfelt. Alex and I exchanged vows we had written ourselves, promising to stand by each other through thick and thin. Post-ceremony, as guests milled about, offering their congratulations, I tried to engage Martha. "Martha," I began, "I'm so happy to finally meet you. Alex speaks so highly of you." She gave a curt nod, her eyes never quite meeting mine. "He's my only son. I raised him to be a man of standards. I hope you can keep up with those." Taken aback, I tried to keep the conversation light. "I'll do my best. This is a new journey for both of us." Before she could respond, Alex was by my side, wrapping his arm around me. "Isn't Chloe wonderful, Mom?" She just sighed, her gaze fixed on her son. "Alex, your tie is crooked. And have you greeted the Thompsons yet?" I watched perplexed as Alex immediately adjusted his tie and then headed in the direction of the mentioned guests. Leaning in, Laura whispered, "She seems intense." "That's one way to put it," I replied, trying to shake off the unease. Later, in a quiet moment, I approached Alex. "She's quite direct, isn't she? Your mother, I mean." He chuckled. "Oh, Martha?" "Yes, she has her ways. But it's just how she is." He looked into my eyes. "Don't let her get to you. Today is about us." I smiled, reassured by his words, but a small part of me couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead with Martha in the picture. The exhilaration of the wedding soon gave way to the practicalities of married life. Alex and I found a quaint two-bedroom house in a peaceful neighborhood. It was a fixer-upper, but we saw potential, dreaming of all the memories we'd create there. During our first week, we were buried in a sea of boxes, furniture instructions, and mismatched curtains. One evening, as I was trying to figure out which cabinet would serve best for our dishes, Alex burst out laughing. "Honestly, Chloe, I can't find my socks, let alone decide on which shelf our plates should go." Chuckling, I replied, "Well, maybe if you'd stop packing your socks with the kitchenware, we wouldn't have this problem." Our playful banter was interrupted by the sound of the doorbell. I opened the door to find Martha holding a pot of what smelled like homemade stew. "Thought you kids might be hungry with all the moving chaos," she remarked, walking past me without waiting for an invitation. "Mom!" Alex exclaimed, surprise evident in his voice. "I wasn't expecting you." "You should expect me anytime," she replied, heading straight for the kitchen. Watching her, I tried to suppress my surprise. She started opening our cabinets, inspecting each one. "This is all wrong," she tasked, rearranging the few plates and glasses we had managed to unpack. Biting my lip, I whispered to Alex, "Should we say something?" He shook his head subtly. murmuring, "Just let her be. It's easier this way." That evening, Martha decided how our kitchen should be organized, where the couch should be placed, and even which bedroom should be ours. Over the next few weeks, her impromptu visits became more frequent. Each time, she'd find something new to critique or rearrange. "Chloe, do you even know how to maintain a home?" She'd sneer when she found a speck of dust or a misplaced cushion. One evening, after one of Martha's inspections, I tried talking to Alex. "I appreciate that she's trying to help, but this is our home. We should be the ones deciding where things go, or how they're done." Sighing deeply, he ran a hand through his hair. "I know it's hard, Chloe. She's been controlling everything since I was a kid. I've just learned to let it slide. But we can't let her dominate our married life," I insisted. "This is about us, about our future together." He looked at me, eyes filled with a mixture of exhaustion and affection. "I promise I'll talk to her. But please give it some time." I nodded, hoping that with time, our life would find its rhythm, free from Martha's intrusive grasp. But in the depths of my heart, a small seed of doubt began to sprout, questioning whether our love could endure the weight of his mother's overwhelming presence. The seed of buying a bigger house was planted innocently enough. We were out for a stroll, digesting another heavy dinner from one of Martha's visits, when Alex pointed out a glossy real estate magazine in a shop window. "Look at that," he said, his finger pressing against the glass, pointing to a sprawling villa with elegant white pillars, a serene pool, and lush gardens surrounding it. "Can you imagine us there?" I squinted at the picture, allowing myself to daydream. A house like that. It's the stuff of fairy tales, Alex. Over the next few days, that villa became a recurring topic of our conversations. We'd find ourselves sketching out imaginary floor plans on napkins, or debating which room would be the study and which one the library. The daydream slowly transformed into a serious discussion. One evening, while we were curled up on the couch, Alex brought up the idea. What if we actually tried, got a loan, made some investments? It might take time, but I think we could do it. I looked at him, trying to gauge his seriousness. "Are you sure? It's a huge commitment." He took my hand, his eyes earnest. "We've always talked about building a future, a legacy. That villa could be part of it." With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, we began our journey towards buying our dream villa. We worked tirelessly, sometimes juggling multiple jobs and projects, sacrificing small joys and vacations. There were many moments of doubt and fear, but the thought of owning such a beautiful piece of property spurred us on. A year and a half later, our efforts bore fruit. We had managed to amass enough for the down payment. The rest would be covered by a loan on the day we went to finalize the deal. The sun seemed brighter, the world more colorful. As we sat in the realtor's plush office surrounded by paperwork, Alex suddenly hesitated. "Chloe," he began, rubbing the back of his neck nervously, "what if we put the villa under my name? You know, for legal and tax reasons, my financial advisor thinks it's best." I looked at him, surprised. "I trust you, Alex. But this is a decision we've made together. Our blood and sweat." He nodded. "I know. And it'll always be our home, no matter whose name it's under." Against the screaming voice in the back of my mind, I agreed, believing in our love and the future we were building. As we stepped out of the office, ownership papers in hand, I couldn't help but feel a rush of pride and achievement. We had done it. We owned our dream villa, but little did I know that this purchase would set into motion events that would challenge the very foundation of our relationship. Moving into the villa was like stepping into a dream. Every corner of the house seemed to echo with promises of memories we'd make. We had grand plans, transforming one of the rooms into a library, setting up a cozy nook beside the big bay window, and planting roses in the garden. One evening, a month after we'd settled in, I was arranging some freshly cut flowers in the living room when the doorbell rang. Assuming it was one of our neighbors, I went to answer, my heart sinking when I saw Martha standing there, suitcase in hand. "Martha!" I exclaimed, trying to hide my surprise. "We weren't expecting you." "Well, I thought I'd come to see this villa you two can't stop talking about," she said, stepping inside. Her eyes darted around, taking in the vast living space, the high ceilings, and the elegant furnishings. "It's ostentatious," she declared. Behind her, Alex appeared, having heard her voice. "Mom, it would have been nice to have a heads up before you showed up." She shrugged, dismissing his mild reprimand. "I wanted to see my son's home. Is that too much to ask?" The following days were a blur of Martha's relentless critiques and interference. She'd wake up early and point out how the breakfast I made wasn't up to her standards. Alex always liked his eggs a little runny, she'd comment, even if he'd just told me the opposite the day before. One evening, as I was setting the table for dinner, Martha walked in, holding a stack of our photo albums. She began to flip through them, her face crinkling in distaste. "Why would you put these pictures up? They're so unflattering." I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm. "They're memories, Martha. Perfect or not, they're ours." Alex, sensing the tension, tried to intervene. "Mom, maybe you can help me in the garden later?" But she wasn't done. "You should really consider hiring an interior designer, Chloe. This place has potential, but right now, it's all over the place." Hurt and angered, I decided to confront Alex. "That night, in the privacy of our bedroom," I whispered, "Alex, I can't continue like this. She's walking all over our lives, our home." He sighed, running his fingers through his hair. "I know, Chloe. I know." However, the next morning, Martha dropped her bombshell. "I've decided to stay here for a while. This house, it's so much more comfortable than my tiny apartment." Alex and I exchanged a shocked glance. This was our sanctuary, the haven we had built together. And now it felt like it was being taken from us. Days turned into weeks, and Martha's presence became more domineering. The villa that was once a symbol of our dreams and love was slowly turning into a prison, with Martha as its self-appointed warden. Months passed. Each day, the weight of Martha's presence grew heavier, pressing down on me with every comment, every command. The home we dreamt of was now a battlefield, with invisible lines drawn in every room. I had started to withdraw, retreating to the small study room to find solace in books. One evening, engrossed in a mystery novel, I stumbled upon an idea that would be my key to freedom. A plan to expose Martha's tyranny began to form in my mind. The next day, I visited a local electronics store, purchasing small, discreet surveillance cameras. Returning home while Martha was out, I placed them strategically throughout the villa. In the living room, the kitchen, even the garden. Over the next few days, I started acting deliberately vulnerable, leaving opportunities for Martha to unleash her nastiest behavior, all while the cameras rolled. One evening, I accidentally burnt the pie I baked for dinner. As I presented the charred dessert, Martha's face contorted in rage. "Can't you do anything right?" she spat. Hiding my satisfaction behind a facade of remorse, I replied, "I'm sorry, Martha. I just got distracted." "And what's this?" she demanded the following day, pointing at a vase that was slightly off-center. "Is it so hard to keep the house tidy?" Throughout her tirades, I remained the picture of a browbeaten wife, nodding meekly, apologizing profusely. Little did she know that she was playing right into my hands. Late one night, after a particularly grueling day of being bossed around, I sat down with my laptop. I began sifting through the footage, compiling evidence of her misdeeds. But nothing could have prepared me for the video I stumbled upon next. The footage showed Martha entering our bedroom, rummaging through my personal belongings. She found a box of old letters, a treasure trove of memories from my grandmother. As I watched, frozen in horror, she began tearing each one to pieces, the remnants of my cherished past fluttering to the ground. Tears streamed down my face as the magnitude of her invasion hit me. This wasn't just about power dynamics anymore. This was personal. I decided to confide in Sarah, my best friend. Meeting at a quiet cafe, I shared everything, from the hidden cameras to the video footage. Sarah, wide-eyed, remarked, "This is serious, Chloe. You've got evidence of her invasion and emotional abuse. You need to do something about this." With a newfound resolve, I replied, "Oh, I intend to. No one tears apart my family's memories and gets away with it." From that point on, it wasn't just about reclaiming my home. It was about justice. Every interaction, every evidence captured, would be a step towards ensuring Martha faced the consequences of her actions. With a comprehensive collection of evidence in hand, I approached a lawyer. Miss Rebecca Stein was a tall, stern woman with a reputation for being the best in property disputes and personal grievances. After explaining my situation and showing her the tapes, she leaned back in her chair, her steely gaze assessing me. "This is quite the predicament you found yourself in, Chloe, but I believe you have a solid case. But what about Alex? He's my husband, after all." I voiced my concern, a lump forming in my throat. Rebecca leaned forward, her eyes softening a touch. "Chloe, from what you've shown me, your husband has been complicit in his mother's actions. We'll have to include him in the proceedings." A few weeks later, the day of reckoning arrived. Alex and Martha were served papers, and we found ourselves in court. The sterile environment, the hard wooden benches, the atmosphere thick with tension. It was a world away from our once happy villa. Martha's lawyer tried to paint me as an opportunistic wife trying to seize the villa and money. But with each clip Rebecca played, Martha's mask of innocence slipped. The torn letters, the destroyed property, and her violent outbursts were all laid bare for the court to see. During a recess, Alex approached me, his face a mixture of anger and despair. "Chloe, why are you doing this? We could have talked it out." I stared at him, my heart aching. "I tried, Alex. I tried so many times, but you chose her over me every single time." The verdict day was one I'll never forget. The judge, after hearing both sides and reviewing the evidence, decreed that the villa be transferred solely to my name. On top of that, Martha and Alex were ordered to pay $60,000 in compensation for the emotional and physical damage they caused. As the hammer struck, signifying the end of the proceedings, Martha's face contorted in fury. But for the first time, her anger held no power over me. Alex, looking lost and defeated, tried one last time. "Chloe, can we?" But I cut him off. "It's over, Alex." Walking out of the courthouse, the sun seemed brighter, the world filled with possibilities. The oppressive weight that had borne down on me for so long was finally lifted. The villa was mine, but more importantly, I had reclaimed my dignity and my life. Returning to the villa after the trial felt surreal. The vast rooms that once echoed with Martha's constant criticisms now stood silent, waiting for a new beginning. Opening the front door, the familiar scent of the place hit me. A mixture of the wooden floors and the roses I'd planted by the entrance. For the first time, in what felt like forever, it felt like home. My first order of business was to cleanse the place of the negativity that had shrouded it. I invited friends over for a small get. Together, the laughter and joy that filled the house was therapeutic, washing away the remnants of the past. Sarah, ever the supportive friend, remained by my side, ensuring I didn't fall into a pit of loneliness. One evening, as we sat on the balcony sipping tea and watching the sunset, she asked, "What will you do now, Chloe?" I took a moment, the hues of pink and orange reflecting in my eyes. "I think I'll turn one of the rooms into a community space. a place where people can come, read, paint, or just find peace. That sounds wonderful, Sarah beamed. A sanctuary within a sanctuary. Weeks turned into months. The community space became a hit, with locals coming in to attend book readings, art classes, and meditation sessions. The villa, once a symbol of pain, was transformed into a beacon of hope and creativity. One day, a knock on the door introduced me to Mark, a local artist. "I heard about this place," he said, his eyes twinkling with curiosity. "Mind if I hold an art class here?" Our shared love for creativity blossomed into a deep friendship, which, over time, hinted at the possibility of something more. We'd spend hours talking about art, life, and dreams. It felt like I was discovering parts of myself that had long been buried under trauma and pain. One evening, Mark presented me with a painting. It depicted the villa, but not as it stood. Instead, the structure was surrounded by wildflowers, with children playing in the gardens and birds soaring above. "This is how I see this place," he whispered. "A haven of joy." "Touched," I replied. "This villa has seen so many phases, from dream to nightmare and back to a dream. Your painting captures its essence perfectly." With the support of the community, my newfound purpose, and Mark by my side, life felt vibrant once more. The trauma of the past would always be a part of my story, but it no longer defined me. Instead, I chose to focus on the present, embracing each new dawn with hope and gratitude.